Who are the men in black? In UFO conspiracy theories and popular culture, men in black are government agents dressed in black suits who question, interrogate, harass, threaten, allegedly memory wipe, or sometimes even assassinate UFO witnesses to keep them silent about what they've seen. The term is also frequently used to describe mysterious men working for unknown organizations, as well as various branches of government, or even alien beings themselves who are allegedly tasked with protecting secrets or performing other strange activities. The term is generic, as it is used for any unusual, threatening, or strangely behaved individual whose appearance on the scene can be linked in some fashion with a UFO sighting. Several reported encounters with the men in black have been reported by UFO researchers and enthusiasts. In today's episode, we will examine the mysterious men in black. Ever since the early 1950s, long before the first Men in Black movie hit the big screen in 1997, men dressed in black suits, hats, and sunglasses, claiming to be government agents, have reportedly shown up in black cars at the homes or offices of people who have reported UFO sightings. According to those who were visited by these intimidating figures, the MIBs threatened or harassed the eyewitnesses into staying quiet about their UFO encounters. Harold Dahl was on a conservation mission on the Puget Sound near the eastern shore of Washington's Maury Island, gathering logs, when he saw 6 donut-shaped objects hovering about a half a mile above his boat. Before long, one of them fell nearly 1,500 feet, followed by raining, metallic debris, some of which hit Dahl's son, Charles, on his arm, as well as the family dog, who didn't survive the ordeal. Dahl was able to take some pictures of the aircraft with his camera, which he later showed to his supervisor, Fred Krisman. A skeptical Krisman went back to the scene to look for himself and saw a strange aircraft with his own eyes. The following morning, Dahl was visited by a man in a black suit. They end up at a local diner where the man was able to recount in extraordinary detail what Dahl had just experienced. "What I have said is proof to you that I know a great deal more about this experience of yours than you will want to believe," the man said. Dahl was told not to speak of the incident. If he did, bad things would happen. In another incident, Robert Richardson of Toledo, Ohio, had collided with a UFO while driving at night. Coming round a bend, he came upon a strange object blocking the road. Unable to stop in time, he had hit it, though not very hard. Immediately on impact, the UFO vanished. Police who accompanied Richardson to the scene could find only his own skid marks as evidence. But on a later visit, Richardson himself found a small lump of metal, which might have come from the UFO. 3 days later, at 11 p.m., 2 men in their 20s, wearing dark suits, appeared at Richardson's home and questioned him for about 10 minutes. They did not identify themselves, and Richardson, to his own subsequent surprise, did not ask who they were. They were not unfriendly, gave no warnings, and just asked questions. He noted that they left in a black 1953 Cadillac. He thoughtfully jotted down the license plate number. The number, when checked, was found not yet to have been issued. A week later, Richardson received a second visit from 2 different men who arrived in a current model black Dodge. They wore black suits and were dark complexioned. Although one spoke perfect English, the second had an accent, and Richardson felt there was something vaguely foreign about them. At first, they seemed to be trying to persuade him that he had not hit anything at all, but then they asked for the piece of metal. When he told them it had gone for analysis, they threatened him. "If you want your wife to stay as pretty as she is, then you'd better get the metal back." There was no clear connection between the 2 pairs of visitors. But what both had in common was access to information that was not freely and publicly available. UFO researcher Jack Robinson and his wife Mary began to experience extremely strange events, as they pursued more alien and UFO-related research. They alleged that an agent from the organization would stand across the street and watch them and go through their belongings while they were away. After 3 days of harassment, their friend decided to take a picture of the man. This is one of the few known photos to exist of an actual MIB in September 1976. UFO researcher Dr. Herbert Hopkins was home alone at his residence in Maine. Hopkins received a phone call from a man who claimed to belong to a regional UFO investigative group. The man professed to have an interest in the Stevens case and asked if he might visit Hopkins at his home office that evening to discuss it. He agreed to the visit from the stranger. After hanging up the phone, he walked to the front door of his home to open the door, in front of which there had been a glass door through which he would be able to see his visitor once he arrived. To Hopkins' surprise, as soon as he opened the door, a man clad in what appeared to be a dark suit, dark gray gloves, and a bowler-style hat was already heading up the walkway toward his house. Hopkins knew that there were no phone booths in the area, and being in the days well before mobile phones, he was surprised that the man had seemingly appeared so quickly. "I saw no car," Hopkins would later recall, "and even if he did have a car, he could not have possibly gotten to my house that quickly from any phone." Nonetheless, he greeted the strange visitor and welcomed him inside. The stranger sat down, and the two men began discussing the Stevens case at the visitor's request. Hopkins did most of the talking, as the visitor listened to Hopkins recount details of the case with which he had been familiar. The visitor remarked, "Yes, that's how I understand it," in response to what Hopkins said. At one point, the visitor brushed his mouth with the back of one of his suede gloves, which revealed a red mark, lipstick, on the back of the glove. Hopkins found this strange, and having his attention now drawn to the stranger's mouth, he found that the man appeared to have no lips, but instead only a thin slit. The lipstick, to Hopkins, had been worn to help create a lip-like appearance of a mouth. The visitor told Hopkins to remove a coin from his pocket, which he did. Now holding the coin in his hand, Hopkins watched with curiosity as the coin began to take on an odd, fuzzy appearance. Then within seconds, it had vanished. "Neither you nor anyone else on this planet will ever see that coin again," the visitor reportedly said. "That was a neat trick," Hopkins told the stranger, who then asked him a puzzling question. He wanted to know whether Hopkins knew how Barney Hill, a purported alien abductee who, along with his wife, Betty, claimed to have been taken aboard a UFO in 1961, had died. Hopkins said that he believed it had been a heart attack, to which the mysterious stranger said that, to the contrary, Barney Hill died because he did not have a heart, just as you no longer have a coin. In January of 2002, actor and producer Dan Aykroyd of New York introduced a TV show named Out There, which would cover topics related to UFOs and aliens. While conducting interviews for the show, he stepped outside and witnessed a black Ford sedan appear suddenly. A man wearing a black suit stepped out of the car and glared at him. When Aykroyd looked back, the man and the black sedan were gone. Later that same day, he received a call informing him that the show had been canceled. In 2008, Shane Sovar, a hotel manager in Niagara Falls, New York, and a security guard, said they had seen a UFO outside the hotel window. 3 weeks after a UFO investigation team looked into the sighting, 3 witnesses reported that 3 men dressed in dark suits and black hats had visited the hotel and terrified the staff. They were looking for Sovar and the guard, who were not present at the time. The witnesses described them similarly to Hopkins' account. However, the hotel's security footage did capture the MIBs and is apparently the only known footage of a Men in Black sighting. So who or what are the Men in Black? Are they agents of the United States government trying to suppress knowledge of extraterrestrial activity from the public? Or could they possibly be aliens themselves, walking among us? Or are they just mundane events perpetuated through folklore? We may never know the true answer, but whatever the case may be, the Men in Black have certainly spawned a cultural phenomenon and inspired a string of hit Hollywood movies. This concludes today's episode of The Paranormal Report. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. It is due to your continued viewership and support that we are able to bring you interesting and informative videos like this. The team here at the Paranormal Report really appreciates your support.